What's going on, Disney fans? It's Disney Dan here, back with another character costume evolution. And this time, guys, it's just time to let it go. All those feelings you've had. I focus a lot on like the variants of characters over the years because they've had, pretty large changes, pretty massive changes. But with Elsa in particular, it's pretty straightforward. They designed these costumes beautifully, with Anna as well. I was excited to do this specific kind of evolution about Elsa and highlight some real magic about costumes and what costumes can do to tell stories. Disney was on the game with Frozen, like in a really big, bad way. They knew it was going to be big. They knew what they had. They knew what they were sitting on. It was massive. Every backseat of every car in America was like, let it go. It's like, mommy, play it again. Prior to it even coming out, it was already being featured in the parks in Disney California Adventure and their World of Color show, their nighttime show. Like, it was like a movie's dropping and we are integrating it into a nighttime spectacular immediately. It was like one of those like, boom. And then right across the street in Disneyland, they immediately dropped Anna, Elsa. From the get-go, we have had Elsa in the parks. What Disney didn't do for Baby Yoda, they did for Frozen. Was like Let It Go fever. And because that song was like this footprint on the movie, that whole transformation, which is just, it has deeper meanings, about freedom. And I can't express the emotions that Elsa was feeling, but I could feel them in my own way, is what I'm trying to say, And then she like throws her hair out and her cape flies away and she like tosses the tiara. She's like, don't need this because I've got ice now. And
the cold never bothered me anyway.
And so, of course, when you're doing this live, right, you've got to deliver that moment. It's the moment everyone's waiting for. So Frozen comes out November 2013. They have them in the parks, and it took a little bit less than a year. They had a Disney on Ice production locked and loaded. This was a Frozen full-out retelling of the story, bookended with a little number with Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, and Daisy. This transformation is super simple. What they do is they take this cape, her gorgeous royal purple cape, and it has this very thin, kind of like, lycra, spandexy kind of material that's just printed of her coronation dress, kind of like hidden underneath the costume, and it's just kind of pinned together. And Elsa is literally more or less holding this whole cape transformation costume piece together. And then she gets up on the corner platform. All she has to do is kind of release this elastic material, and it kind of just snaps back, and her cape falls back behind her. And so, she's supposed to be catching this like, dry ice haze in her cape as she swirls it around. It works. It gets the job done. They have injected the Let It Go number into, I think, like 4 or 5 Disney on Ice productions now. It's continuing to live on many times over. And this is how they do the transformation. It's about the beauty of skating. You know what? I'm not going to go down well, I'll just say, listen, Cats was a strange movie. Cats was a strange Broadway musical. But the Broadway musical was about ballet and poetry and, like artistic expression. And the movie was about ballet and and they were dressed as cats. I don't know what you wanted them to do, all right? So sometimes it's just about the ice skating, like it was about the dancing. That's all I'm saying. If you swing forward a bit, you have 2 Disney cruise ships, the Disney Magic and the Disney Wonder. They're sister ships. They both have a musical on the ships called Disney Dreams and Enchanted Classic. I actually think it's really creative and clever. It's about a girl, she's reading a book, she's got Peter Pan taking her through her imagination and adventures, and we're stopping in The Lion King, we're stopping into Aladdin. We're like checking out a couple different locations. And so in 2015, suddenly Disney Dreams and Enchanted Classic got like a facelift. It disappeared for a second and came back with whole new musical numbers in it. On the Disney Wonder, it came back with this whole Tangled sequence. On the Disney Magic, got Frozen musical numbers put into it. You've watched my Olaf evolution, you've seen that Olaf puppet, and then you get this whole Let It Go number, right? And this one is a massive improvement on what they did with Disney on Ice, because now we're in a much more intimate environment than a stadium, than a hockey arena. Now we're in a 1,500 person theater, right? Maybe a 2,000 person theater. The stage is designed to have a big open pit that big set pieces move in and out of, and a stagehand is there behind her to grab a cloak. Disney on Ice was like, okay, she's got to skate around a little bit, so she needs the little front shirt thing. On the cruise ship, they're like, she's got to walk out in a light fog from the wings. Just give her the cape. Tell her to hold it close, tight, walk over to the hole, someone will grip it out from her, you know? And that's what it is. But it works so much better, right? Because like the cape disappears. In the theater, you're not seeing the pit in like those good seats, like, you know, in the center orchestra. You're not seeing the holes opening up. So that cape just snaps away. It works. I think it looks really fun. This was a less technical quick change, but still a pretty well executed quick change. Fast forward to May 2016, we're bringing a whole Frozen Broadway style celebration to the Hyperion at Disney's California Adventure. They took Aladdin out, they revamped the entire stage, and boom, we had Frozen live at the Hyperion. Now, what they did in this version of Let It Go is my least favorite of all of them. It ignores all the rules of a good quick change. The way this costume works is most of the costumes rolled and bundled up and tucked into like a chest plate back behind her shoulders, which is why she looks so bulky up top as she's moving. All of Elsa's ice dress is packed into her chest and arms. If you look really close, you can see the rip snaps. They follow a little bit of the four-step Elsa transformation. She pulls off her glove and drops it. She releases her cape, and the cape flies away. But what you don't see is that the gloves are tethered to the cape, right? They're tethered to they have a leash attached to them, so that when it snaps away, both costume pieces fly off. And now she looks a little bit like Elsa the linebacker. It's like Elsa full running back. I don't know anything about football or sports, so hopefully that reference makes sense. I mean, look at her. She looks like she's like Jane Fonda in the 80s. She has a strong shoulder. She's on a giant glowing white set of stairs, and she's backlit, frontlit, side lit, silhouette in all its glory against a giant glowing LED screen. The minute I saw it, I was just like, dear Broadway Jesus. And then she pulls a ripcord and the costume explodes out of that tightly packed. It's like a parachute, right? It's like a parachute cord. This doesn't do anything for me. You see it. You see what she's doing. It's dumpy and frumpy. Well, here's the thing about this costume is it fails a lot. That's happened more than once, folks. That's happened plenty. It's like, children, I've been possessed by an ice spaghetti demon. And I must wrench it from my chest like some kind of Ridley Scott-esque terror. In November of 2016, a miniature version of the Hyperion show opens up on the Disney Wonder, which got the Tangled musical numbers put into their main stage instead of the Frozen ones. And it's called Frozen, a Musical Spectacular. Just as offensive as the Hyperion, and they just were like, hey, we don't have the budget for the giant ladder. Okay, so let's just put a spotlight on her in the middle of the stage instead. That's rough, all right? Maybe that's just no, come on. And I guess, you're on a cruise ship, you've got a tiny stage, you're working with a very limited situation, right? You can't blame them, they've got to do with what they've got to do with, but it's just the Hyperion costume in your face. There's no trying to hide it with a blackout. Out in Disneyland Paris, this is one of the pinnacles of Disney live shows. And I've talked about this before. You've seen me talk about it with Genie, with Olaf. It is a real magic show, but using Disney characters to do magic. It's phenomenal. It's fantastic. They use that to kind of justify bringing Elsa in there because she's got this quick change magic. We're trying to get a perfect Elsa transformation. We want cape action, we want glove action, we want hair action, and we want ice magic action. This theater is a magic theater, right? It's dark in all the right places. It's lit all the right ways. It's got all the right hazing fluid machines working overtime. We're doing that X-Men thing, you know what I mean? Professor X's like, Storm, we got some sneaky stuff going on. Lay down the fog. And she's just like, you got it, Professor. And she just lays the fog down. They kind of lose a little bit of points for me on this one because it's just like, throw the glove, throw the cape, throw the crown. There's a stagehand crawling through this fog, picking all this stuff up. So anyway, there's a projection screen as a background. These are fancier. These are like magic LED panels. Maybe a little OLED-y. People make fun of me because I love OLED TVs. We get some projection mapping on her costume change, which is cool. And now she's kind of gonna do like a "The Hills Are Alive" with the sounds of Elsa kind of spin. It's the best transformation they had done of Elsa since, right? We're getting strobes, we're getting distracted, we're getting fogged. We're not getting Elsa on a big white glowing ladder in the middle of the stage. This is really, really well done. I think they did a really, really great job, and only to be outdone by Broadway.
Elsa's continued to be a huge surprise for me because when I was cast, I could tell that it was a role that I would be able to dig into, but I didn't quite understand the magic of this girl.
Disney knows how to do it on Broadway, right? They bring their A game. Casey Levy, Broadway star, Broadway sensation, as Elsa on Broadway. They nail every point of the Elsa transformation, right? Glove, cape, hair, dress. So this was a produced piece for ABC that they did for The View. The whole stage of Disney on Broadway is projection mapped, like the castles, like Magic Kingdom, or Disneyland's castles are projection mapped. She's able to do ice magic, and it's being projection mapped around the theater, across the stage. Her glove flies off stage. It has its own cord. It's not tethered like the Hyperion. It has its own gimmick and gag, and off it goes by itself. Tastefully, beautifully, slowly. This is some tasteful union string pulling choreography, all right? Her cape has another string in it, gets pulled off. It looks great, it looks beautiful. So she's center stage. That's going to allow her to execute the costume change. And it goes by like the snap of a finger, right? There's a trap door behind her and underneath her that pulls her Elsa coronation covering off. This is a bootleg of it. So really sharp angle, but here it shows it really well. And her cape is hidden inside. It's like bing, bang, boom. It's like, this is Act 1 finale stuff. But just the way that they tell this story, the way they present it, it's happening to her. She's not doing it to herself. And that's the difference between Elsa on Broadway and Elsa everywhere else. There's all the Elsa Let It Go costume transformations that are out there. From the parks, to the cruise ships, to Broadway, to all of the hockey arenas, large and small across America. Don't get me wrong, I think that every costume serves its purpose. Every costume has a budget, every costume has a need. And so when I make fun of certain things here and there, it's not because they're bad. It's not because they set out to be weird or clunky but all of these costume changes filled a purpose and used all the resources they could in the houses they could. And that all builds up to like the best version of it. It's like every time we see it from 2014 on, it just gets better each time. So which of these Elsa transformations has been your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe if you have not already. Come find me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And as always, you rock. The French just are like, Monsieur, Mademoiselle, it is with deepest pride that we do some magic for you. So pull up a chair as the French proudly present your Elsa. Let it go. Let it go. There's a series. Other characters singing popular Disney songs.